It's wintertime here in the Great White North. Yeah, it's as cold as it looks. Time to find a nice, cozy place in the workshop to sit back and stay warm. We moved a lot of things around in the workshop recently, and it seems like when you move one thing, you end up moving everything. I just wanted a scroll saw moved, and we ended up having to move the heating system. Vent-free gas heating is a great option for the workshop, especially if you already have gas service in the building. A lot of garages and basement workshops can just tap into the existing lines. It's not as difficult as you may think. The nice thing about gas, especially natural gas, is it's less expensive than electric heating. And the vent-free units are far more efficient because all that heat goes into the shop instead of out the chimney. Some people might get a little nervous running your own lines because you're afraid something's going to leak, but if you use thread tape on every joint and you get them tight, the risk is no greater than the system that's already in your house. The only tricky part about running your own lines is you have to do it in the right order. You have to start from the source and add one piece at a time until you reach the heater. If you have to make any changes, you have to disassemble it all in reverse. So plan ahead and take your time. These types of vent-free heating systems do create some moisture in the air, but since they're only run in the winter time when the humidity is lower anyway, you're unlikely to notice any difference. And while there is an open flame, it's behind glass and completely contained. It's not going to transfer from the heater to a pile of wood somewhere in the shop, or even to a thin layer of sawdust on the floor. Our workshop here is 17 by 24, and it's got about 10-foot ceilings. And a medium-sized wall heater keeps this pretty warm in here. Of course, we turn it down when we're not in the shop to about 40 degrees, just keep it above freezing. And if we're doing glue-ups or something like that here in the shop, then we raise it up to, about 60. But otherwise, we like it a little cool, and it really doesn't cost much. Maintenance is pretty simple. Take it apart once a year and use a compressor to blow out any dust that's accumulated through the warm months, especially around the gas line because it's so tiny it's easily obstructed. If your shop's damp in the summertime, take a little 300 grit sandpaper and clean any corrosion off that thermocoupler. That's important to keep it functioning properly. It only takes a couple minutes once a year and you're ready to go for another season. Put a nice comfortable chair next to it and you'll have a cozy place to sit and enjoy your man cave. Meanwhile, we're making box frames in the workshop this week, and that means a lot of identical parts. A lot of people this time of year especially are making projects in multiples. Maybe you're giving things away as gifts or whatever you're doing, but here we're not making gifts, we're making some of the things that sell really well during the shopping season. And that means a lot of small-scale production techniques. Sometimes it's just as quick to make 10 of an item as it is to make one. And if you plan ahead for that from the design phase all the way through production, you can get consistently great results much quicker than you'd imagine. One thing that helps us keep everything straight is to number our parts, so as we run everything through the machines, we can get them all back in the right order. And using our giant sanding machine, we can get all the parts down to 220 grit before they're even assembled. It takes a light touch to avoid removing too much stock, but it eliminates most of the finish sanding later on. Efficiency starts with the project's design, like milling grooves to catch the glue that would otherwise squeeze out and need to be cleaned up. By adding a contrasting piece to the outside of these frames, we get both a better looking profile as well as eliminating the need to cut a rabbet to hold the frame back. And using a headless pin nailer eliminates the need to clamp them together and wait for the glue to dry before we can move on to the next step. This month Woodcraft's running a special on a trend blade and a bottle of their blade cleaner for half price. So since I needed them both, I thought I'd check them out. Frankly, I almost didn't buy it because of the packaging. I hate these plastic clamshell packs.
I just feel like a $70 blade should come in something that you wouldn't expect to see hanging on the wall at a dollar store. And that wasn't the worst of it. They glued this label on. Why would you use permanent adhesive to stick a label to a saw blade? I suppose this is a chance to try out that new blade cleaner. I had to let it sit and do a little scraping, but I'm pleasantly surprised. The adhesive came off. But look at this. On the back, there's more. Are you kidding me? A good saw blade should be machined flat. Some of them will actually show the circular marks, but others are polished, so it's hard to tell. A good straight edge will confirm flatness, but you can't do this in the store. I find that the best sign of a good blade is the teeth. Good blades are meant to be resharpened, not thrown away when they get dull, so the carbide teeth will be thick. And a good blade won't have sloppily brazed teeth. If they're neat and clean, that's a good sign.
Always cut the power to the saw before you change the blade. I installed a kill switch over on the side table of the saw that's far away. I can't hit it when I lean over to reach in to change the blade. It could save your hand.
We make our zero clearance inserts out of wood. They sure come in handy when you want to change a blade because you can just wedge it against the teeth while you loosen it. Our new blade failed the packaging test, but it passed the close inspection and it is flat. So now we'll see how it cuts. Not bad at all. This walnut end grain has a nice smooth cut and there's almost no chip out. There's an upside to the packaging too. That plastic clamshell makes a perfect tray for using that blade cleaner. This Freud blade has never been cleaned and it's a mess. Buildup on the teeth makes blades seem dull and it increases heat and shortens their life. Keeping the teeth clean can greatly expand the time between sharpenings. And this new cleaner does a pretty good job for the price. As for the blade, well, I cut a lot of miters with it and they came out clean and accurate. This gets a passing grade in my book any day. When you're making a lot of the same project, glue-ups can be a challenge. There never seems to be enough clamps. That's why we use tape for our frames here at the Stumpy Nubs workshop. When gluing frames, lay the pieces along a straight edge and tape them end to end. Then add glue. Not only does the tape hold the corners together, it helps reduce squeeze out, so you have less to clean up later. Then you just kind of roll the sides up and get the frame into its shape. Of course, for this to work, your miters have to be pretty accurate. Otherwise, they're not going to hold together that well and you'll have to use clamps. If you decide you need to do that, the tape will hold the frame together while you apply the clamps and make it that much easier. A headless pin nailer also works great here too. You're not going to be able to see those little dots, especially if you put just a teeny bit of colored putty in them after you're done. And it eliminates the need to wait for the glue to dry before moving to the next step.
One of the downsides to being a woodworker is that everybody wants you to do something for them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like making things for people as much as anybody, but sometimes it can be a little much. You find yourself in the workshop at 4 in the morning running stock through the table saw because your brother-in-law wants an end table, your wife can't get by with the 5 cutting boards she already has, and your neighbor thinks you need to make him a birdhouse. Of course, you could say no, but no, you're not going to do that because that might ruin your reputation as the world's nicest guy. So here's what you do. Next time you get a good heavy snow, go over to your neighbor's house and start shoveling his walk. Do it on a weekend, sometime when he's going to be home to see you. And when he comes out to say thank you, slip and fall on his porch. Now you're going to want to practice this ahead of time. You don't want to take a dive like a hockey player trying to draw a penalty call. He'll feel bad, and then next time he asks you to do something for him, just hint that you might sue him. Now, get yourself some crutches. Whenever your wife asks you to make a cutting board, pull them out and say, I think my leg's acting up on me a little bit. I better take it easy. Word will spread, and before you know it, people will start doing things for you instead of asking you to do things for them. If you play your cards right, you can milk this all winter long. Then sit back, have a cold one, because you've earned it, my friend.